That's what you did.
Hello and welcome to Raw Babes 101 with your host, Kristen and TT.
I never know how the intro's gonna go, to be honest.
She's like, what are you gonna call me today?
It's never the same.
Okay, you guys, hold on. Before we get crazy, I need to introduce this amazing soul that we have sitting here, and I'm just like, oh my God, pinch me. Are you really here?
No.
This is our movie. You're really here.
I'm a ghost right now. Nobody can see me. You can just hear me.
Exactly. Okay, you guys, I am going to introduce to you all the most amazing, beautiful, gifted, spiritual teacher and medium, Stevie Shayler. Words cannot even express what this incredible spark of light does for so many people. Stevie's work touches so many people and has changed many lives, including mine and Tiffany's. Stevie has an incredible podcast called The Collective Experience. She does monthly pop-up courses, retreats, and Stevie works with energy, mindset, and manifesting. And she does readings.
I do.
And
They're badass.
I have to just say, you have the most calming and soothing energy. It just feels like home when I'm with you.
Well, thank you.
God, you're making me cry.
Yeah.
Jesus.
You're going to give me tears right at the beginning.
I know. Well,
I get the ugly cry. We don't want that.
I'm an ugly crier too.
Are you?
Oh yeah, it's like
And you can't stop once you start.
Exactly.
Because it feels so good.
But you absolutely deserve that intro because you are an incredible soul and the lives that you're changing. And you don't even know. Half of the time, I have to just share this quick story. You didn't even know this until we went for our walk. Jillian came to my house and dropped off the medical medium book. I was going through the worst time of my entire life. I was super sick and I wasn't even able to eat properly. She drops off medical medium and that came from you. And Stevie did a reading for Jillian and you told her about the medical medium. And now this full circle comes around and I hadn't even seen you yet or even knew about you. And here you are dropping off energetically the medical medium in my flippin' house without even knowing it.
Synchronicities, hey? Because I always looked up to you and your dedication to the medical medium. And I had absolutely no idea that just that small recommendation was the catalyst for you. So
Which came from you. Holy shit.
It didn't come from me, though. I shouldn't take credit, but it came from my spirit team.
There you go. But still, you're an incredible vessel. And because you've done the work, you are able to help so many people.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. You're amazing.
Stevie Lake.
Hold on. That was amazing, Steve. That was awesome.
I thought you were calling me Ricky Lake.
Oh my God, I'm already sweating.
You can call me whatever you'd like. Stevie, Shay. I get called Steven even. Don't like that
How about even Steve?
Oh my God.
Stevens.
No, I was going to say, Stevie, you don't get these messages from people on how you've changed their perspective or given them the piece of hope of, having a total transformation in their life just due to some work. Well, because, you work at all different levels, but you're not getting people, they're not telling you that you're changing their lives. I feel you come so humble.
So flippin'
you're
humble.
so humble.
Oh
yeah, so keep it up.
Thank
Because
you.
that's really what it is about. It's about staying humble and, we're just one foot in front of the other. I was listening to your last podcast.
With Lorna Byrne?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes. Oh my God, she's so
listening.
sweet.
So sweet.
So humble.
Yes.
Another great author of 9 books, I guess.
Lorna Byrne, 7 bestsellers.
Seven bestsellers.
Oh, amazing.
She cannot read or write.
Yeah, she's dyslexic.
Severely, yeah.
So
Amazing. I haven't listened to this one yet.
So she's been having experiences since she was a baby, basically, since she
in
came
a
into
cot.
this world. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Speaking of experiences, Miss Stevie, I want to know some juicy juice about you. Can you share something, kind of like, even just a little bit of your story? Like, how did this all happen? Like, what went on for you? We want to share with our audience.
It's funny because even to this day, I always feel a little bit weird, but yet I'm so comfortable with being weird because when you grow up as a 5-year-old that is telling your mom and dad that you're seeing spirits and these faces staring down at you.
Or as she would say, your angels.
Or your angels, except for some of these
Some of them,
spirits didn't have faces,
right.
and not all of them were nice. So,
or not all of them were positive.
not all of them were positive. So yeah, from about around the age of 5, it was within the first week of my parents had bought a home on the same street, and we had moved in. And within the first week, I remember waking up in the middle of the night and seeing 4 figures standing over top of me, looking down, and I could make out the genders, but they actually had no faces.
Wow.
And I remember going under my covers and closing my eyes and praying that they would go away, and then opening my eyes and they were still there. And this happened nightly. And I could always sense like the change in the room when they would be entering. So until I was 18, I actually slept under the covers with just a nose hole. I'd cover my eyes. I
believe it.
was terrified to even have to go to the washroom in the middle of the night. So this was quite often for me.
That's a long time saying that
From
scared
5?
body feeling.
Yeah.
That's a tight,
And it wasn't until I started working with this when I was around the age of 18 with a mentor who ended up not being a good mentor either.
Ooh.
That's a bit of a wild story.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
that can happen.
And it can
It
happen.
can
And at that
absolutely.
time, I was just seeking answers, and it was a friend's stepdad that had just kind of came in. He always gave me the creeps from a really young age. Like, anytime I'd go over there, I felt uncomfortable. There was something wrong. But then when he opened up about his spirituality, I saw a different side in him. And so I just asked all of the questions that I could ask just to make sense of what I was going through, because growing up at that time, there were not really that many books, there wasn't courses, there wasn't just a weekend thing I could go and take.
Yeah.
Not like now.
Not like now. So I had to
Yeah.
learn everything on my own by going through it.
Shit.
And once there was like this one person that I could somewhat relate to.
Yeah.
So is this guy that mentor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
And he was very, very kind. So I will acknowledge that. But there was just some weird things happening, and very quickly I noticed like my period wasn't being regular, and just all these really weird things that were happening with my body and around me. And some of my experiences really intensified and got a lot scarier.
Wow.
And I won't share those because it may
I
scare
almost
people.
asked you. Oh, like,
I don't want people to be scared, because this is very, very rare, and it was because I was so in tune and also so open. I didn't have the resources that everybody
have
has
now.
now.
because there is a fine line where we need to protect our energy.
Absolutely. And I was just open, and I was
I've done the same thing.
beacon of light that was just
Mhm,
like anything that can relate to me, come on in, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I invited in some bad energy.
Yeah.
And and how I found out is my cousin took me to another healer with her. And as soon as I walked in this door, the lady looked at me, and she didn't even know I was connected to him. And she goes, "Honey, he did a number on you.
Ooh.
That bastard always goes for the ovaries."
Pardon?
Holy, I just got goosebumps.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
She knew instantly
She knew.
who I was in contact with.
Whoa.
She knew this energy, and she told me that
Whoa.
he practices dark magic, or works
Gotcha.
with dark energy, and so basically
Holy
was
shit.
energetically attacking my ovaries, and so that's why I was getting no period, and then they were all over the place, and
Whoa.
I've heard stuff like this before. I've watched a lot of Well, and it's just information that's come my way. I really don't sit and nerd out and like watch all this shit. It's just like
Found you.
it found me, right?
Yeah.
And I've heard
Hence why each healer and person that I've ever talked to, they recommend right away, it's important that you do your research on who you get any type of healing with. Reiki healing, mediums, like anything like that, you guys, it'd be really good to only go to like someone who's been recommended to you.
I agree.
So obviously come to us and just ask us because we'll direct you in the right direction.
Always.
It's always been Kristen's
Nikki.
game.
Yeah, this
always.
is my strong suit. So,
Best of the best.
okay.
Yeah.
Whatever you need, I've got you covered, okay?
Yeah, hilarious.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
back to you.
anyways.
Back to
Yeah, well, that's actually a big reason, like, catalyst in my methodology is the power of discernment.
Mm-hmm.
And something I like to reiterate with anybody that I'm working with is also don't take what I'm saying at face value. Instead, I'll help you to develop the tools needed to discern what you're feeling and what you are experiencing, so that way you can give it a language, right? That comes from you, not from outside of you, and then make the most informed decision. And it's not saying all like other people are bad or all ill-intended, but sometimes that energy just isn't for you.
Exactly.
I love how you said how you're giving it a language, because we'll have feelings and they're just so like
so strong.
Well, outside of this like human life and like the way that information's passed on is through. I mean, this gets
just say it. Just
well,
say
telepathic.
Right.
Yeah, we've had this ability before, and not everybody.
Going
We
into your
can't tap
intuition.
into that. No.
No.
Well, you know what? You want to talk about telepathy a little
Yes,
bit?
let's do this. Because you know what? I'd like, let's do this. Because this is good for our
You know what?
listeners and
This
viewers.
is such a stigma, is people often think that psychics are actually reading people's minds, and so that they know this information.
No.
But it's not that. Instead, there is an exchange of energy. So what that person is energetically sitting with is what that psychic is able to pick up on, and then talking about cultivating their own language, then they could put language towards what they are feeling.
Yes, totally.
So
With discernment.
But it's not reading the mind, it's
No.
just this mutual exchange of energy, and then being able to create that language based on that dialogue, that energetic exchange.
I
love
feel
this.
like when Dave first started getting the
David
feels.
Stevie's husband.
Yeah, Stevie's
Oh,
son.
yeah.
love
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, he saw Stevie. And he had those reservations because I think he probably was feeling guilty for maybe human thoughts or whatever, just not feeling the highest self that would have been torn out of him. Like, here's your truth.
Right.
Now be gone with it. You're a bad person. No, that
It doesn't work like that.
No.
You mean like for when he first got his like reading
Yeah,
done? It's
and-
scary for some people.
And that was, I
They-
remember feeling that way
Yeah.
too. I did. It hurt me, you know, like.
You think like, oh, they're gonna go into your mind and take your worst thought, but that totally doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
100%.
yeah, no, working with energy too, I tell people when I'm doing a reading at the beginning, I'm never going to receive anything that you don't want me to know or anything you're not ready to work with.
Yes.
And that is a boundary that I set with my spirit team, and they naturally wouldn't bring that through anyways unless like that was my intention.
Well, isn't that just how it works?
And even then, it just wouldn't. Yeah,
It's
It
always
would never
your
tell
heart.
you something that you
No.
shouldn't be sharing.
And it's
No, it's
always
the
for your
ego.
high,
Yeah.
and it's always for your highest good, and it's always your highest
Exactly.
self that
Yeah.
shows up.
Exactly. Yeah, the highest self will never give you that information.
No.
Your ego might create that story.
Yes. Yeah.
May interpret the energy, but that's not. It's not real and trustworthy.
Totally. Okay, back to walking in and seeing this amazing light. I want to hear the story. I'm like, come
Are
on.
you sure?
Yes.
Okay. I asked. I was
Yeah.
polite about it.
Yes.
She's happy, right? Just to clarify, you want about meeting the
Well, that was
healer?
part
Is
of
that what
this.
you're talking
Well, I mean,
When you
okay, so he took apart she read the fact that he had a hand on your ovaries, basically.
Yeah, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? I'm
That's
finally
scary.
opening myself up, and it didn't resonate with me at the time either, because like I said, I wasn't growing up with all this information that is out there now. So I was very fear-based. I was fear-based to begin with. I had nobody to relate to my whole life.
Yeah.
And then this happens. It's like I finally open up and I'm ready to work with it, and I'm being told like, hey, you've been psychically attacked.
Yeah.
And basically implanting stuff in my body.
Oh my gosh.
And so she stuck me on this bed. This was the other crazy part. She just stuck me in a room, in a dark room on a bed, and said, hey, these energies are going to work on you for the next 2 hours. Shut the door. I didn't even get any say in it. And I'm laying on the bed and I'm tripping out because I start seeing energy.
Oh, God.
And it's moving everywhere. Yes. And I remember just being stiff as a board and just praying for it to be over.
Holy, you signed up for big things, girl. Holy
yeah,
shit.
it was intense. I came out and she's like, oh, you're still going to need some work. I didn't end up going back to her just because I like just walking in there. Wait, I'm gonna back up a little bit. Okay. So as I walked in, right before she said that, she didn't answer the door. Her 7-year-old daughter answered the door and goes, hi, I'm so-and-so. Your friend's here. He's got a girl's name. Why is he standing like this?
What?
And it was my friend who had gender neutral name that was in a car accident and broke his neck. And she goes, he just wants to say hi, and she skipped off. And I was like,
whoa,
what am I walking into? Like, how did I get here after that? Like, that's traumatic.
Holy your team's like, here, we got a good one for you.
Yeah.
Let's rip the carpet one more time.
Yeah. When you're not listening, that's what happens.
For sure.
I mean...
But you know what? There's a silver lining in everything. If we look for how we're being supported in those moments, that was really a catalyst for me to take power and control of my own experiences and not rely on anybody else.
100%. Atta girl.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, we wouldn't be here.
For sure.
Yeah. So now, what happened? What was moving forward? Now you've found a new mentor and to hone in on your skills and like, because, you know, we have to fill our own cup before we can serve others. So at what point was it for you that, did you know that you were going to be a service for others in this work? Like,
no, it still baffles me to this day because even younger than 18, I was always that weird kid that I played sports I probably only had a social life because I played sports.
Oh my gosh.
And everybody would come over and I'd be like, oh, there's a spirit in the room, and everybody's like, weirdo, right? But then, of course, they'd get confirmation of it, and then it would freak them out even more.
Right.
But so I was always giving messages too. And I remember especially right before this time, around the age of 18, and my friend had passed away, and I was just getting all these crazy downloads, and I didn't even know that I was reading. I just thought it was normal.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
You've been doing it all
That's
your life.
Awesome. I'm going
right?
to do that.
And I was just sharing these messages, and for me, it was just a natural progression. It was second nature for me, so I didn't really think too differently, and I had no idea that I could make a career out of that.
Right.
By no means. It was just something I did. And it wasn't until fast forward almost 10 years later, I was having still some of those health issues. Like it hadn't fully gone away, and some other things that had popped up, and
fucking knew it. I fucking knew it.
What
I'm
did
gonna
you-
fucking throw up.
Okay.
What?
what are you picking up on?
I don't know. What's going
What
on?
am I missing?
It's just a theory I have. And I find that healers, especially very gifted healers, when they're sick, it's because they've not been protecting themselves.
Absolutely.
So like,
it's true. This is so important.
yes. So, anyways,
Yeah. I didn't know any of this. It was just,
of course.
oh, I'm receiving a message, I'm going to share it, right?
Mhm.
I just thought here.
Oh, and I'm sick, so it's just.
And I'm sick, right? All these like
And I'm
phantom
weird.
symptoms. Always weird. Stay weird.
We are
Totally okay with
This
it.
is Stevie weird. Let's just stay weird.
You know what? I'm unique. What can I say?
Hey,
It's a unique weirdness.
It's called limited edition, and there is nobody that can ever replace you, girl. So just know that
Well, I
you're a
appreciate
goddess
it.
of light that's limited edition.
Well,
no one's gonna fuck with you.
on the
Thank you.
weird side of things, I've always felt like I was weird. Always.
Yeah, we are.
Embrace your weirdness.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
love
know, and I love that. I
Mhm.
just, when I read that meme, I was like, that's for me.
Totally.
Embrace your weirdness.
Question, because I'm still back at. You didn't end up going back to this lady that was healing you.
No. So yeah, fast forward 10 years, and I'm having all of these health issues, and traditional medicine obviously isn't diagnosing anything, and at this point, I'm
Because nobody
starting
knows
to,
what's wrong.
yeah, I'm starting to feel like a hypochondriac, and like those around me are sick and tired of like, oh, you have another headache today, or your period's weird. Oh, okay. Right? You
That's
get to
right,
that
because-
point though,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah. We're both like, yeah.
we'll get to that.
We'll get to it.
And so I started getting a bit desperate, and I was just looking everywhere for answers, and I ended up coming across Carolyn Mice. I never say her name properly.
That's okay.
She'll forgive me.
Anatomy of the Spirit. Hopefully she forgives me. She's a
I
little
love that
feisty.
title. Is she?
She's feisty. I saw her in person. She scared me.
Hi.
Yeah, you're cool, but you did scare me.
I've been told that once or twice. I'm not gonna lie.
And I read her book, and she is not a medical medium, but medical intuitive is what she goes by.
Awesome.
Very much the same thing. And so then I started researching medical intuitives in the area, and I came across Dr. Divi. And I actually had done a podcast, one of my first podcast interviews with her, because she changed the complete trajectory of my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, which episode?
We're gonna have to write these
Yeah,
things down so we
yeah.
can put them in the
It
episode
may
notes.
be like episode 7 or 8. I'll have to look at it. But
Oh, and
Guys,
listeners,
Head to the collective.
sorry,
That's right.
Stevie started her podcast just before we did. So
When
we're,
did you?
right around the same time.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Last
think-
July.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
had,
we
I
were
think you had a
November.
couple weeks in before us.
We were November, girl.
I'm very slow
She
with
was
mine
July.
compared with you guys. You guys are so good.
Well, there's two of us.
There's no such
two
thing.
of us.
It's divine timing, and you know what?
Yeah.
It's perfect exactly as it is.
Yeah.
Well,
just
thank
like
you for
you.
that reminder.
Oh.
Oh.
I'm all about building people up, as you know.
Oh,
she
shit.
knows I'm uncomfortable with this
Yes.
because we had this conversation. So that was my effort of thank you. Was,
Oh.
Oh.
I like it. I'll take it. This is good. See, she's accepting the.
choose happy, choose happy, choose happy.
Yeah. Oh
It's
my
my
gosh.
affirmation to remind myself today.
That'll be our inside joke.
Yeah, so I went to her, and I was looking to get some support, and I was also completely burnt out. I have been an entrepreneur since I was 24 and got out of school, started working for myself. I'll be 35 on Monday.
Happy early birthday, Leo girl!
Thank you.
It's like crazy Leo season right now, as it is, plus all the astrological stuff is just fire.
It's funny. It is fire.
It's fire.
My sun sign is under the horizon, so I'm an introvert, whereas most people are above the horizon, so they're very like out there.
What's your top three, like sun, moon, and rising? Do you know?
My moon is Capricorn.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Well,
And
my
then
mom
you said
energy
Leo,
there.
Leo?
Leo.
Wow.
Double Leo.
I think that's where that side comes out of you when you were talking about the show. What show were you guys talking about that you were watching just before we started? Where you're a little wild. That's your wild side. Your Leo side.
Oh, yes.
When you
I
talk
like
about
comedy.
Oh.
I like comedy.
Yeah.
Sausage
that's good.
party.
Some inappropriate comedy. Then again, I do enjoy laughing at myself, so
Yeah. That's
I
good.
love laughing at my belly laugh because that makes me laugh even harder, and just everything's great,
I get the belly laugh as well.
right?
Yeah.
You pee a little, you cry a little. It's great. I love it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Yeah. There's
I'll take the
nothing-
pause. Hold on, Mama's calling me. Hold on.
This is awesome. I'm like, no, we're right in the middle of recording, and my mom is interrupting. And hey, it is what it is. It's
Divine
all
intervention.
divine intervention. The bottom.
Why?
I lock it for this exact
It's
reason.
so
Mom, do you want to just come onto the show and introduce yourself? You might as well. Did she want my keys?
mine, I think, because I'm behind a green van.
Okay. All good. We're back.
Back to it.
Hi.
We're back
So yeah,
change your life.
I went in. An hour session is all you need to get kicked in the butt in the best ways. And she is the one that introduced me to Abraham Hicks and Law of Attraction. But very quickly, I had also gone in there because I was burnt out. And my business at the time wasn't sustainable. I had taken on way too much. I was working one-on-one. It's like, I can't do this anymore. And I actually had
No, keep going.
Good.
Yeah.
I had a really uncomfortable dialogue around money, too.
Oh.
I had to do a lot of healing around that, where I would have clients that would owe me money, and I was so uncomfortable asking them. One client I trained for an entire year without charge. Because I was so uncomfortable around the conversation, because I had already brought it up a couple times, and then it just kept getting forgotten. So
you had to claim freaking power back.
I did. I had a lot of work to do. So this was the catalyst, and I went to her.
I feel like you're all power. It's like I feel like you have these,
now.
I appreciate that. That's years
and that's probably
later.
because of all the experience of learning and practicing.
A lot of work, and I'm not perfect. I don't have it all together, and there's days when I'm reminded of those limitations, and at least I can be conscious with them, sit with them, and remind myself that that's not my truth, and do something with it. But yes, the other thing I said to her is I'm tired of working my butt off and not having the reward of it to be able to do the things that I want to do. And she looked at me and was like, "Why aren't you offering readings?" And I was like, "What?" Like, I had never even had a reading. She knew. And meanwhile, I was reading people, but I never considered it reading. So when she asked me like that, I couldn't register what
how long
a reading
was
that. I was 26, turning 27.
Oh, okay.
Or no, I was younger than that.
24?
It was like a couple. Yeah, it was almost 10 years. So.
Okay. It's like if I think
24
about what's
came
going
right
on,
into my mind. So
what's going on now, I can't see. I don't see there was as much exposure to this type of work then.
There was none.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, okay, like, but here I'm being a people pleaser and trying to appease, and she's like, well, if you want to change your life, like, start with readings. And so I was like, I don't even know what a reading entails. So she said, put it out on Facebook, 20 free readings, see who comes and figure it out. So I was like, okay, put it on Facebook. I'm like, nobody's gonna book up for this. And it was like within a couple hours, I was like, okay, it's booked. Like, what do I do now? And I didn't even want to address it. I kind of brushed it aside, and the first client was about to come, and I set up in my dungy gym in the garage, and it's like with the little heat lamp because it was so cold in there. I put a little table out and 2 chairs and lit a candle, and I was like, I need cards. I don't even know how to use cards. I don't even know how to use cards, but that's
I love you.
right?
This is amazing.
You had them with you at the time, right?
No, I stood it out to the physical store, and like, it was like,
You're so
which
fucking
ones?
cute.
And I like picked the first one. I picked tarot. Well,
Oh shit.
you buy Oracle to start. Just saying.
Just saying. But you can get nice tarot that act as oracle.
It was an angel deck, and I was like, I'll go for it. So I got back there and I like opened them, and I was like, I don't even have time to look at how to use these. And I started to panic, and then I went to cancel on the person, and she showed up really early. She knocked on the door just as I went to hit send, and I was like, oh shit. Okay.
That's why she came early, but next time people don't show up early.
Right? And she sat down, and I actually was just blank. I was like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. And then all of a sudden, it just started to channel and flow through.
Oh,
and by the end, she was crying and hugging me, and I was like, what just happened? Because I blacked out. Like, you
blacked out.
I want you to do that right now.
So that's the telepathy.
Just
is that what
channeling. Just I didn't remember any of it. It's just I allowed it to take over because I had no other option in that moment. I'm like, I need to sit here and blow smoke or just
surrender,
put my ego aside and see what happens. And she obviously knew that, and it was just kind of
powerful.
Yeah, and like I said, I had been receiving messages for a long time, but not in a formal setting.
Right.
So
where you're now
it wasn't
exchanging
brand new, but.
And I feel like, you know, if anybody had any judgment, because there's always judgers out there, and like, oh, you want to just make money, and you're just like, no, it's not this real thing. But you have to understand, like, people who actually pay money, they're seeing value in something, and when you see value in something and you pay money in exchange, you're taking that as gratitude. Like, it's like, thank you, and you're going to do something with it.
Absolutely.
At the end of I'm sure, like, it's up to them, like, you know, after they see you, as we know, it's up to you to do you. But when you're exchanging $1 for a service, that's where you're going to change lives, because that's where you're going to meet more of the masses. You can't help people who don't want to be helped, and people who want to be helped will pay any price to get helped.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
good point.
Well, it does become a natural boundary. So the people that don't value the work that you're doing, or
don't believe in you,
don't fully believe. I did have a lot of skeptics at the beginning, and I will say I handled it like a champ.
yeah.
Because every single one of them left crying. It was
yes, I know. I believe it. 150 million.
You
So
made
I'm
them
like,
cry.
Not on purpose,
That's
but
so
like,
cute.
Oh my God.
sorry, not sorry. You came.
Yeah.
But I would always say to them, like, if you're here expecting something from me, save your money. Like, I'm happy to cancel your session, not take anything from it, but I'm not here to prove anything to you.
No.
I'm here to do my job. If you're here to listen, if you're here to hear what needs to come through, then I'm happy to hold space for you.
So at what point how long did it take you to get to that mindset? Because obviously from, like, not knowing what you're doing to,
Well,
like,
my first
setting
skeptic
boundaries.
was like,
let's
I
hear
did
the
my
story.
20 free and then maybe 10 in. I had my first one.
Oh.
Okay,
Yeah.
what happened?
Well,
See, you'll never forget this, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because it's a shout out, but I won't say whose name it is. Somebody in our community she came in for a reading for her, and she was with her mom.
Okay.
And her mom sat down and just
She's crossing her
stared,
arms.
just stared at me, and I was like, okay.
Judging.
She's like,
judging.
bitch, let's see what you got.
She did, and I was like a little intimidated, and she's like, I don't believe in this, and I was like, okay, well, this is gonna be hard to navigate. I can either ask her to leave or I can accept the challenge. So I accepted the challenge.
Good for you.
And
Good for you.
all the messages that came through, it was her daughter's reading, they all came in directly
Of
for
course
her.
they
But
did.
I didn't know that. I was
Okay.
just sharing it with
Of
the
course they
individual, and she's like, it's for her. It's for her. And finally, on the last one that kind of broke her, I was like, your mom's coming through, but I keep hearing Lulu, and I don't know what that connects with. And she goes, she lived on Lulu Island.
Oh my
She
God.
lived on Lulu Island.
And I was like, oh, okay. And it was just like one thing after another, just like that. And then she kept just turning her head, and by the end, she was, I do readings for the whole family now.
Really?
Amazing. I love that. I love stories like that. And
Yeah.
you know what? She wouldn't have been there if she wasn't meant to be there. And that's exactly what the purpose was behind that. For her to, like, get rocked and go, okay.
And I truly believe that who walks through the door or who's on the other side of the computer screen needs to be there.
Yes, you guys all need to be there.
So you must have, okay, that was your first skeptic. Do you get them often?
Not anymore.
No.
No.
You know, Dave was a skeptic.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what? I shouldn't say not anymore, not to that degree.
Right.
I get people in
Like, that's
very
fucking
reserved.
rude.
I still get that quite a bit.
Okay.
But again,
But not being rude, like.
Nope. No. I can just tell that they're just not fully open, and I respect that.
Right.
So my job is just to deliver in a way that they can receive, and even if it's the smallest thing.
It was awesome. It changed his perspective and everything. Like, because that was the time where, like, I was really diving deep and doing a lot of work, and I really wanted to share it with my partner. And it was hard. So I couldn't get the reservation from him that I was hoping for until he saw you. So, and then our reading after that was really interesting. Actually, can I share this? I have to share this.
It's your reading.
It's your podcast and my podcast. So share away, girl.
This
Is it
so
on airplane
funny.
mode?
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we're good for time. I got it right here.
Oh my gosh, it is
34.
Wow, we did so good. Okay.
I knew intuitionally it was like, kept on going airplane mode, and I was ignoring it. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
it's fine. And it was like, airplane mode. I was like, I don't want to interrupt her right now. So finally I'm like,
Airplane
is it on
mode.
airplane mode? And it wasn't!
That's why we make such good partners.
Her intuition.
It was my intuition. Yeah, it was like, kept
Yeah.
on going, and I'm like, fine.
You gave it.
Yeah.
Okay, so mine was during this time, there was, you know, Dave and I were trying to figure things out at a different level of our relationship. We just were. And basically, he was, like, been so, like, in this work mode and stressed out for so long. And I had taken, like responsibility for it, and I didn't want to anymore.
Okay.
But I didn't know how to, like, I couldn't put my finger on it. And this is when I knew we needed a change in our dynamics.
Yeah.
It needed it. Like, we're 22 years in now. Like, it is like, and we've had lots of, like, transformations between us, but it's just time for another one. And so Dave, you read Dave, and then you read me, and it was just like, it was more of like a discussion, because what was coming through to you did not resonate with me whatsoever.
This is the coolest thing, you guys listening. I love
so
this story.
I'm like, Stevie.
I think I looked at you. I'm like,
yeah, and you were totally honest too. You're like,
course.
this doesn't feel right. Like, I don't get it. Like, I'm not getting a clear reading from you. I can tell this isn't resonating. And so we just had a discussion, and it was like a beautiful one. It was like always nice to be able to talk at that level, because you can't always do that. But so anyways, Stevie here gave me another reading, and what came up, and the reason why she couldn't read me
in her course, the course we were doing, right?
Well, we had taught something, yeah, I guess in between that, where, was that it?
I will never forget that moment.
Oh, is that what it was?
You were in the course. So everybody listening, we did one of Stevie's amazing courses. I've done like 4 of them, I think, back to back. They're incredible. You guys have to sign up for them.
Yeah, they are really good.
Tiffany was in with me, and I'll never forget that. You had prompted us that we needed to,
you're right.
and I'll let you continue, to return.
Can you tell the story?
Sure.
Yeah.
So Tiffany, so Stevie had shared with us that it's very important for us to make sure we're not holding on to other people's energy. And when we meet people, anybody that we come into contact, it's an energetic exchange, and it's very important to return the energy back to people or protect yourself. And there's many ways that Stevie has taught us how to protect our own energy. Everything is an exchange. We have cords. We attach to people. You've got to clear it, and you need to release it. So Tiffany...
Now knowing the experience, it all makes sense.
So Tiffany, Stevie brought us through an exercise, and we went into a meditation.
Oh, now I remember.
And Tiffany needed to return.
Okay, because I was tired.
All the time.
All the time. I was always tired between like 1 and 4. And for years, and I just didn't get it. Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, my diet's good, I'm getting
Working
sleep,
out.
Everything's like, I'm doing all the things, and I'm
She
so
went
tired.
to the doctor. I just want to say this.
Yeah.
Tiffany went to the doctor because it was becoming such a problem.
I was getting pissed off. I was getting annoyed.
Yeah.
So when you prompted us to cut the cord and sending back energy that's not yours, if you know whose it is, give it to who you know.
And even if you
But
don't,
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I had no idea, because I'm like, these feelings don't resonate with me. I don't get it. Now it's inconvenient. It's such an inconvenience. I'm just tired of it. Tired of being tired. And so cut the cords, did the energetic work. Later that night, Dave was working in Kelowna. So we were doing a debrief goodnight phone call, right? Debrief, like talking about the day.
Debrief, like business partners.
Yeah.
Debrief,
Well, we are built partners.
Of course.
Yeah. So he's like, you know, Dave, it was so funny. It's sitting here with the guys, and we're eating, and you know, I just hit this wall, and I'm just so tired. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, like I don't know. He's like, I gotta go to bed. I'm tired. I'm like, wait a minute. When did you hit this wall? And he's like, oh, about like an hour and a half ago. And it was like about the time that we had done the fucking course.
Yeah.
And I told him what happened. He's
like
like,
I said, the energy.
he's like, buddy, why did you give it back to me?
She's like, I don't want it. Yeah.
I don't want it anymore. And literally ever since then, he has had to take his energy to another level, because the business is growing like crazy. he had to learn what his capacity was because he was going. Like, he wouldn't fucking stop.
Mm-hmm.
And I was taking on
Yeah.
that part for him, and he finally got to feel the feels, and I haven't been tired since.
Exactly. Woohoo! Thank you, Stevie.
And then we did end up doing another session, and it was fucking awesome.
It was
Well, I'm
fire.
happy to hear
Yeah,
that.
it was awesome.
Hopefully it resonated with you.
Oh,
yeah,
it did.
I remember doing the first one. I'm like, this doesn't feel like yours.
And then the second one, you're like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like that was not your energy. 100% it wasn't. Because everything shifted at that point on. So.
And like, I absolutely love your approach and how you do your readings. Like, I cry every time I've had 2, and they're just magical. And like, it's so beautiful because Stevie will, she'll work with her, obviously her team, and then like our team, and even past loved ones, and then has pulled cards on like your past loved ones. So for me, Stefan came through in the first one, and one of the cards that was pulled at the beginning is I'm alive. And I'm like, yeah, you're very much freaking here and like present around my life. And it made so much sense. And like so many synchronicities and so many things that just made so much sense. So I'm just like so grateful for you and your gift and what you do, because it's just life changing. Like the stuff that you've told me, I'm just like,
what? She still can't believe. She's
yeah,
like, pinch me in my head.
Yeah, it's so incredible. So
Kind of coming back to the beginning when you were talking about like, receiving that feedback. A big part of what I do is detaching from outcome and needing that validation. So for me, it's I finish a reading and I leave that information with the individual. So it doesn't really sit with me. It's not something I'm like, oh, I hope that person. I know they'll make the connections when they're meant to. So being able to just release that, kind of go on about my day, let them do their own work, and knowing that, hey, if they're doing the work, they're going to make the connections for themselves, and it's going to stick with them. It's going to resonate so much deeper when they make the connection, opposed to just sitting for an hour and me telling them everything, right?
yeah, it's like a gift that keeps on giving, because all of a sudden it will be months down the road, and there may have been messages that you've received, like you just said, and they're not resonating with you, and you're like, oh, whatever, that's okay. And then all of a sudden, 3 months later, 4 months later, 5 months later, they're like, oh my God, there it is!
And I like to say that in my intro of a reading.
Yes.
I'm like, it's the gift that keeps on giving, because
Oh, do you really say that?
I do. That's funny.
Oh my gosh!
In terms of like these signs and symbols, you'll continue to make connections days, weeks, months, and sometimes even years.
Yeah,
after
you shared,
sessions.
there was a woman that was like 6 years or something later, emailed you saying, oh my
Yeah.
God.
At the time, she's like, well, I didn't even know, because once again, I didn't have that feedback from her. She was one of the very first ones I did, and then she had emailed or DM'd me and said, hey, had a reading done 7 years ago with you. Didn't resonate with anything you said. She's
Wow.
like, I can tell you everything. I figured it all out. It all came true.
Oh,
wow.
what a
That's so
ride.
beautiful.
But it's your level of receptivity, right? Like if we're really closed off, we're not going to be looking for or making the connection. So it's only when we open up that we're
Well, I
willing
do
to.
too. Like when you're getting this kind of information, we're the only ones with the concept of time.
Exactly.
So it could be, usually it's not the next day, but it could. Hey,
Maybe.
if
It could
it's
be in
for
that
you,
moment.
then that was meant for you. But
Yeah. And
you know,
especially
yeah.
from like the spirit realm, like what we just were talking about, it's not about time, it's about when you energetically align. So if you're like calling in your soulmate, or if you're calling in something in your life, and it takes you 5 years to energetically get there, that's what it will be.
Mhm.
If you do the work in a year and you just like power through and like heal all your traumas and do all these types of things, your energetic alignment is going to change. So you're going to be able to call in different
Absolutely.
things, right?
Absolutely. And the concept of divine timing, because we hear that a lot too, or divine orchestration. People get so set, again, having that like linear timeline mental thinking. They think, oh, well, if it's divine timing, if I'm going to meet this soulmate, when is that going to happen? But divine timing doesn't work that
No.
way. Again, it's the orchestration of, like, are you aligning? Is that other person aligning? And when you're at the same frequency in that moment, then that connection can happen.
That's crazy.
Right? It's not just I mark something down on my calendar. And
That's right.
And kind of piggybacking on that too, the concept of psychics. I don't refer to myself really even as a medium. It's more of a channel.
Yeah.
But because psychics do get a bad rap. But
Just the word.
but what we have to remember is they're reading energy. And what they're predicting is based on where that person's at in that moment and their path. But each moment we can completely change the trajectory.
I love that you
of our
said that.
path.
Love how you said
It is
that.
true because we have free will.
Free will.
Yeah, so all of those things that person relayed may not come through based on the choices you made.
Yes.
It's not that it wasn't meant to happen or that that person was completely wrong. It's just you're growing, you're changing, you're more conscious, making maybe better decisions for yourself. So your outcome is going to change.
I like the idea of like a fork in the road. You can go either way.
Yeah.
Everything is choice.
Yeah. It reminds me of
Everything is
Wizard
choice.
of Oz.
And that's where I always go back down to.
Love that movie.
The fork in the road.
Oh my god.
That's where she met the
Scarecrow.
Not a girl. You know.
Yeah.
Don't make me jump up.
Oh my god. You're so cute.
There's the Leo.
Lions and tigers.
Yeah, there's the Leo fire energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what I was going to say is gone, but
Sorry,
it's okay. It's all good.
About divine timing. Choice.
Free
No,
will.
not coming. It's okay, it'll pop up.
It will pop up when it's meant to. Okay, I would like to go back to what happened with your body and like how it had nothing to do with a medical condition and more with energy and like how you fixed that within yourself and like the ovaries and like all that type of stuff.
Yes,
very similar
took
for me.
a long time, and I'm not going to say that it's perfect either.
Right.
But even just a couple of years ago, I went 11 months without a cycle, and just one month with a cycle. So very all over the place. And it wasn't until I truly started to step into my power and have that dialogue with my body. What am I feeling? And just trusting that. Because up until that point, I was seeking external clarity outside of myself when it was an inside job.
Got it.
And so once I kind of turned that in reverse and started being my own advocate and listening really deeply, that's when things started to shift, because then I could tune in and know, okay, this is off. And oftentimes it was things I was doing or not doing, such as setting boundaries. That was a big part of it.
And this is something that we all have the ability to have, just like for our viewers. Like, Stevie is obviously very gifted in these ways, but if you do not learn how to get connected with your body, you're never going to heal it.
No.
Because we have the ability to heal our bodies. It's insane. And I mean, I do Reiki on myself all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. It's just like, it's just a thing I do. I don't know. I've always done it.
Yeah.
And when I was learning Shiona, I was like, oh, if I could do this all the time. Shit.
It was already, but that's the thing. We have all of the tools within. So the fact that you already knew to do that is so telling. And this is such a hard concept for people because we have so much reliance outside of ourselves. And again, seeking that external validation. So we don't give ourselves permission to trust what we're feeling and what we know. We know without knowing. And oftentimes when we start to have symptoms, we automatically think our bodies are working against us. But it's the opposite. Our bodies are working overtime to get our attention to say, hey, something's off. This symptom, this headache, this ache, this is here to show you that this needs a little bit of TLC. This needs some attention. It needs a shift. But it's when we continue to ignore over and over again that it gets so big that now it becomes less manageable.
Yeah, that's amazing.
What would you say to people who live with chronic pain?
Yeah, that's a hard one too. It's not discounting the pain that those individuals are in. But oftentimes, I'll personally see people that are in chronic pain that are caregivers, and they are sponges. And they are just absorbing from everywhere. Even the person that's walking down the street, when you're open like that, it's constantly taking in energy that's not yours. Right?
Yeah, and one thing that has really stuck with me is visualizing the energetic cord into Mother Earth wrapping it around and grounding yourself, and then again connecting through your crown as well, and like grounding yourself. And then what I do is I protect myself with a rubber cloak, or I put over. No,
Kristen, you're so visual.
It's true. But this
I
is,
wear a rubber cloak.
yeah, so I do. So
I'm like,
you're weird.
when you throw at me, bounces right back.
Exactly. So you guys, what you have to do is like, if you're going to go out anywhere, Stevie taught me this. This is from one of her courses. I ground myself. I do the whole connection thing, and especially if I'm going around people that are going to be taking my energy, or like energy vampires, we'll call them in a kind way. Put that cloak over, and then I do what she said. I put roses and crystals and candy. I do candy.
People like candy.
Yes. And I say, you can have any of these free gifts. This is what's totally from Stevie, as long as you leave my energy alone.
Exactly.
On top of that, there's a rose sentry that Stevie taught me that has its own cord grounded into Mother Earth, that has thorns, and the biggest flower head that covers my body, they come into that first. That's first line of defense. I'm like, bitch, you ain't having any of my fucking energy.
Right? Most times, if you stick a lot of thorns and foliage around that rose too, people will come into your contact with your rose and they're like, I'm not vibing with you too.
Yeah.
And they just take off.
Yeah.
They do.
It's really powerful, especially like when you're working out at the gym and you want to be left alone and you don't want to be interrupted or people coming up to you. So it's just like,
it's just standing bitch face, man. That's it.
Tiff, no, that's your freaking rose and your chocolate bars.
I
her
love
face. She's like,
and I'm busy.
yeah. Oh my god, love it.
It's important, and I'm somebody that, because I've been so energetically open and do my best to be really kind to people, I've had a lot of stalkers in my life. Like, just
tell us like the deepest, the craziest.
Just
if you want.
Yeah.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
Okay, I had this one.
She's like,
this one's a little weird.
Okay, let's hear it.
We're ready.
What I was getting at though before that is, you go through having, and it's
5143. Just have to say, of course, divine. Thank you,
looking
team.
at it. It's like, keep
Sorry.
going. So when I was in college, and again, this is why I really learned to protect my energy later on too, is it wasn't the other person. It wasn't like, they're like, oh, I'm attracted to her. It wasn't that at all. They were just my light. They were drawn to my light, right? And being kind to people that maybe other people weren't being kind to, they take that the wrong way. So I had this one guy in college, and it got pretty creepy, where everywhere I'd go, even if I'd leave in the middle of class to go to the washroom, I'd come out. His name was Tim. I'll use his name.
Tim.
And he'd stand with his rubber raincoat, and he'd be like outside the door pretending like he wasn't doing anything in the middle of class. And I remember coming out and I was like, what the fuck, Tim? Like,
oh my god.
what are you doing? And I don't swear very often, but I had to get like a little aggressive because I was like,
yeah, what are you doing here? Yeah.
And just a few other things, like went out, he would listen to where I was going on lunch break, and he didn't have a vehicle, and he'd run there, and he'd like be peeking in the window, and just really weird things.
So is this mental health?
Maybe a little bit, but the part that was scary is a wrestler in the group was like, hey, this guy's like a crazy karate guy with like multiple black belts, and I had this vision of like being kidnapped in the like underground parking. I had this vision, and so I had to completely like restructure my energy and how I showed up. Wow. And it was very, very intense. So I learned a big lesson there.
You learned how to be a freaking badass.
I like that you knew that though, like to know to change your energy in that sense. Like I've been so ignorant to it so many times. Like I've had fucking weirdos too. Like I've had people hate me so bad that they like go to sleep thinking about me and wake up thinking like creepy.
That forms cords too.
Dude, man,
you gotta cut those off, girl.
And it's honestly, in my experience, that it only ever happens when like I feel like they can smell blood, like when I'm not energetically aligned. So I'm kind of at a low, which very rarely ever happens anymore. Because I'm so, I understand like life things come up and down, but I handle it way different.
Yes,
like
of course.
I'll probably never feel like that again. just
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but at that time, I had a couple people in my life that were really like
Crazy.
some weird things.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's people you would never expect either.
That's why you have to be using discernment and on your guard,
Yeah.
right? Because you never know. And sorry if you're listening, Tim. Nobody knows your
Not
last name,
sorry.
So,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah, not
craziest
sorry.
part of this is that a couple years later, I went to get a reading done because I hadn't really had a reading done. And the lady brought through my grandfather and said, there was a situation that you listened that was going to
I
be
was
really
just
bad
gonna say
for
that.
you. And instantly I knew what it was.
Instantly. And I was even going to say, I was like, that was a complete download for you.
It was
to
a
be like,
download.
don't. And guess what, guys? This is a perfect example of your intuition about don't disregard your intuition or like something coming through like that.
Those strong feelings.
That strong feeling, that gut, that sick to your stomach. Do not, because it will save your life. So
Usually,
much.
it's like if you were to vision it, it would be like an idea pop in your head like that.
But it comes out
It's
of
like a-
nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just like whoa.
And
Okay.
something else happened too that saved your life.
How
Was
do
it
you
a
feel?
car accident?
Did I tell you about that?
Yeah.
Oh, the one where I was driving home?
Yes.
Yeah, I was-
Sorry, is it okay to share?
Well,
Yeah.
let's
we-
take a
Guys,
quick break.
yeah, you will be.
Five by fives a second.
Oh, are you serious?
Bitches.
Perfect.